Hi, welcome to the bathtub. When you hear this sound, the sound effect of this theme song,
Singing in the bathtub, happy once again. Watching all my troubles go swinging down the drain. Singing to the soap suds.
singing to the soap suds, the immortal Tweety bird, Les Brown, and the land of Renan, and the band of Renan, and that was Dodo coming into the middle of it. I got a special thing for this. This is totally because of the post-tech decade. All these amazing things happen when you turn off all the Klieg lights and you get rid of all the CGI wonderment that we used to have on this show, and things like fonts. We had fonts on the show. We don't even know what a font is, and we had fonts. Now we don't have any fonts. We just have Dodo, Tweety Bird, me, and an angelic glow. Look at that. That's the natural sunlight coming through my big broad windows here in the office, and it's been pretty hot here. Today's nice. It's cooled off a bit. And there's Dodo's butt sticking out of the. Where do you get a booktubing show with a parakeet's butt sticking out of a coconut? You know, that's special. Anyway, I'm doing some of these very quickly. I hope they're. I sometimes think that the quicker I do them, the better because it's just such a huge waste of time if you really think about this whole stupid show. That the sooner the better. We're doing this is the third episode. I'll probably be doing these for the rest of my life because. It's called To Digitize or Not to Digitize. It's the new theme show here at the bathtub, which is what do we do with all the goddamn books? I can't say effing because this is a show for Grandma and the kids, and I like to click that box that says it's family. It's not family content. I'm not suggesting you bring all your kids in here, but at the same time, hopefully we don't offend anybody except people who love Nabokov so much you can't mispronounce his name, and they have an S fit. Look at these damn books. I don't know where the hell to put them all. I love them all. I've kept them. Every time I move, it's a nightmare. You know, I have entire shipping containers full of goddamn books, which I haven't read or I'm probably never going to read. Or I have read, and I don't know what the hell to do with them. I think I said last week, it's 50% of my life is spent reading books, 50% of it is buying books, and 50% is where the hell figure out where to put them. That's 150% of my life is devoted to that, and that's it. Somebody wrote me and they said, that sounds like too much reading. They're probably right. I think I'd probably spend a little bit more time trying to manage the book. So we're trying to manage our shelves, and I'm just going to show you. We got a great. I won't say who it is but anyway, I got an interesting person on the internet. Watched these and said, oh yeah, they have similar problems. Several people mentioned that they have the same problem, bookaholicism, and they don't know where to put these, especially the big fat books. And they gave me some ideas of some places with libraries and stuff where you can actually get books besides the Kindle ebooks and buying ebooks and PDFs and so forth, and learning how to convert them in various ways so that you can make notes in them, because that's my big problem is trying to save my notes and so forth. Anyway, here's some books I'm actually going to get rid of because I've either found Kindle versions or ways of having e-copies of the books, and they just take too much shelf space, but they're cool books. That's the whole premise of the whole. Excuse me, I'm belching, and that's a whole show. That's the entire show. Edgar Allan Poe, The Critical Heritage. There's a whole bunch of these series by RKP Press. It's filled with essays and reviews about Poe, largely when he was alive, and what people said about him when he was alive. And it may go shortly after he's dead. I can't remember now. But I did a lot of work on Poe, and I find him pretty interesting, and I did a dissertation with a big chapter on him. And I read parts of this, and it's really fascinating to read these types of books. And every single 6 months, when I'm trying to clean my books, I go, I should probably get rid of this. I love the book, but I'm not going to read it. I have some notes in it, but not a lot, just a few notes in it. And I keep wanting to get rid of it, but I couldn't. So what I did is I did find this was available. I won't say where, but it looks like I can keep that one. I found a way to get the Nabokov Wilson letters. It's a great book. It's really cool. It's actually a little out of date because I think there's a new version of it which you can get, and I think it's on Kindle. Anyway, it's available. I won't say where, but I'm pretty sure I saw it available. I have every biography of Orson Welles that ever came out. Every single goddamn one. From Barbara Leeming way back. I remember really enjoying the Frank Brady one. I have some notes in it, but again, I think I found ways of getting that on Kindle or ebook versions, which I can put on I can digitize, and that's cool. We talked about Christopher Hill. I'm keeping Milton in the English Revolution. That's one of the best academic biographies I've ever read of a writer. I love Milton. When I was in high school, when I was in college, I was told I had to take a Milton course, and so I took it, and I thought I was going to hate it, and I loved it. I loved Paradise Lost is a great read, and it's just beautifully written. I liked all his poetry, and I have to say that the whole 1600s, the whole revolutionary period in Europe and in England is incredibly confusing. And every time I see the name Cromwell, my whole brain freezes. I just can't. I get totally confused by the whole damn thing, Puritans and so forth. But I read a lot about it over the years, and I forgot most of it. Anyway, I love that biography, but I have a lot of Christopher Hill books. He is one of the best historians I've ever read, and I've hardly ever gone back to read him again. I've always wanted to read his book on John Bunyan and John Bunyan's church, and the purpose and the basically what that stupid Bunyan, Pilgrim's Progress, which I've never been able to read, what it's all about. I've had this for probably 40 or 50 years. I don't remember when I bought this damn book. 40 years ago, 50 years ago. It's Turbulent, Seditious, and Factious People. It's a wonderful book. I haven't even read it. I have no notes in it, and I did find this. If this is available, all the Christopher Hill books seem to be a nice new additions on Kindle or various ways of getting ebooks. Okay, huge fat book. I love Orson Welles. I just one of the most fascinating. I love listening to him talk. I love this book. This is Orson Welles, filled with pictures, filled with Peter Bogdanovich. Whatever we say, whatever you think about, I like Peter Bogdanovich simply because he was such a lover of movies. He's a weird character, but this is a really fun book. It's so big and heavy. I'm constantly trying to get rid of it, and I have been able to find an e-copy of that book. So when I want to read it, I'll read it. Oh my gosh, here's what I did find. I found a copy of this, so I can actually keep that, an e-copy of this. The Problem of Slavery in the Age of Revolution by David Brian Davis. I read much of this when I was in grad school. It's a terrific history of that problem, of talking about freedom when you have all these people enslaved. And it's a pretty fascinating book. I haven't had a chance to go back to read it or read it completely all the way through. I read through passages. There is a new edition of it. I can get it on a goddamn Kindle. I'm going to probably do that. Here's one. I'm starting to get rid of this stuff as I get older. We talked about Robert Stone. He's one of our favorites. We love Robert Stone. Wonderful writer. My favorite Robert Stone novel, Out of Bridge Reach. I think if you haven't read him, this is his best novel. When I interviewed him years ago, I got him to sign it. Isn't that cool? And it's hard for me to get rid of books that are signed. But when I'm no longer around, I don't know what's going to happen. My wife won't know what to do with this stuff, or whoever it is that inherits this mess of my library. I'm going to probably sell that and make a little money off it. And I have a copy of the lovely Library of America volume, which has that in it. Probably his best novel. All this stuff from grad school. Lyric Time. I do love Dickinson's poetry, and there's a lot of good academic work on her. And I remember liking much of Sharon Cameron's work. But if I can find an e-copy of that, I will. I did find an e-copy of Subversive Genealogy. Michael Paul Rogan writes pretty interesting historical essays. And I don't remember the damn essay at all, except talks a lot about his family and how his political interests of his family and mercantile interests of his family influenced Melville. There's lots of other stuff. He writes a lot about class in America and Confidence Men. There's a great essay on Confidence Men in this. It's all beat up. It's a big damn book. I think I'm probably going to get rid of it. And I think I've got a PDF, and I've learned how to finally, through this past week, and with some help from one of our bathing buddies, I've learned how to actually be able to make notes in my stupid PDFs. I don't know what the hell this book is. This book looks so cool when I bought it in grad school. It's called Dreamtime Concerning the Boundary Between Wilderness and Civilization. I got this in grad school too. I used to just buy books, go to the bookshop and buy books all day. That's all I did. It's fascinating to me because it's about 100 pages of a mix of historical records and contemporary cartoons and all these visions of what the borderline means between wilderness and civilization, a topic that's always interested me. I kind of browsed through it. I've never read it. It's 100 pages of text and 400 pages of notes. And I've always wanted to read it, and for some reason I never got around to it. I found that as a PDF. Here's a book I really want to read. I've got this. I found a copy of this, pretty easy to annotate online. I've never read it. I'm a big Ian Watt fan. Love Ian Watt. I love his book on the history of the novel. It's one of the few academic books I've ever read that I really loved, and I still look at once in a while. The Rise of the Novel. And he wrote this book about Conrad as a kind of biography, one of my favorite writers too. And I bought this from Everyday Books in Willimantic, Connecticut, when Everyday Books was still around. This is ages ago, so I've been carrying this around for 40, 50 years. And it's a big, beautiful book. It's heavy as hell. And I found an ebook, an e-copy of it. And I'm gonna go to that one. And I also got a book of Ian Watt's essays on Conrad, which I was able to. I can get that. Some of the stuff I know I can get on ebooks, so I'm going to try to get these off the shelves just to make a little space. And I put them on my. I have it's called Red Rabbit Books on eBay. I'll put all this stuff eventually on my eBay bookshelf. But this is not a paid partisan announcement. That's just an aside. Anyway, that's part 3. I think we'll do some more of these. It's kind of fun to just look at these old books before I get rid of them. And that's to digitize or not to digitize. All of those are going to be digitized. Somehow I'm going to digitize them and make a little room for me and Dodo and the dog and my wife to put other stuff up. Okay? Happy bathing.